Margaret Farrelly from County Cavan is one of Ireland's most unlikely millionaires.
They know it's feeding time.
She's the country's leading independent supplier of free-range eggs. With that success, Margaret now wants to share some of her wealth. For the next 8 days, Margaret will live in the heart of Dublin City, where she will meet different charities and people that she might be able to help.
There's so much to think about when you leave a house like that.
By the end of her stay, Margaret will give away tens of thousands of euro as she reveals herself to be the secret millionaire. Margaret Farrelly lives near the town of Mulla in County Cavan. She lives and works on Clonarn Farm, producing and packaging free-range eggs in what is now a successful family business.
Well, I'm the oldest of four. My father was a blacksmith. Mammy didn't really have any great qualification, but she was a great mother, a great homemaker. Our house was a small little house. The floor was a concrete floor, like a cement floor. And every Saturday, that floor had to be washed from end to end, but she didn't start at the front door. She started at the front gate and went right through to the back gate.
Margaret and her husband Leo reared 4 children on what originally was a small farm.
Leo had the good foresight, I think. He could see that really the farm wasn't going to support a young family. So he saw an advertisement for a packer looking for small free-range egg producers. And we applied, and the rest is history, really.
Last year, they shipped over 46 million eggs, turning over almost €6 million. Their largest customer is the Musgrave Group.
I mean, I would have pride in what we are and all of that, but I'd always keep on remembering the humility of my parents and how their faith somehow impressed me as well.
We have 17,000 hens of our own. We have 26 suppliers. They range in flock size from 1,200 to 12,000.
Both Leo and I would attribute a huge amount of that to our faith. We pray about everything. Like, some people say it's a very funny way to run a business, maybe, but we believe it's our way and it's worked for us, and I don't apologise for that.
Except for Margaret, when the decision has to be made, it doesn't matter which of us makes the decision. Whoever is there at the time to make it, like, and support one another. That's the way the business was always done from day one. Like.
Yet, with all that success in business, the family has faced some serious challenges in their personal lives.
In 1996, Leo left here one morning to go to Dublin, make a few deliveries. And at Minalty, just 6 miles away, he failed to make it round the bend and ran into the front of a Scania lorry fully loaded with milk. Leo's life was in the balance for many, many hours and for days after. And through all my anger, I think I realised how forgiving and compassionate God is. He made a great recovery. He's never without pain, but he never ever complains.
While the business continues to grow, Margaret and Leo have always stayed modest in how they enjoy the rewards of success.
When the children were small, and for many, many years, a holiday for us was go off and have a good time in Modorn and come back and get stuck in again. Now that the children are older, and particularly that they're involved in the business, it's great for Leo and I because we can maybe treat ourselves a little bit more. So when we were 25 years married, we went on a cruise in the Mediterranean and we treated ourselves in 30 years. So that's about the height of it. We don't, plan several holidays a year. Leo likes to have a fairly fresh car.
They are already told that the eggs are too weak. She is a great boss. She always encourages us to use our creativity to fix any problems. She will find it hard because the egg industry is very competitive. So she'll be thinking all this week, what must have happened in the last week.
I made a conscious decision to not think too much about it because then I might kind of start getting anxious and nervous, and I don't want that to happen. When I see need, I just find it very hard to pass it, even in everyday life. I've no expectations, but I think I will be humbled by the people I meet. And really, I'm doing it not for what I get out of it, but just to, in some small way, give back a little of what we have to spread around.
Bye-bye. 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 Love you too. Bye-bye.
Margaret has arrived in the heart of Dublin City. For the next 8 days, she will live in this area known as the Liberties. While this is a stark contrast to country life, she's not completely unfamiliar with the area.
I used to shop here mainly on a Saturday when I'd stay over in Dublin 40 years ago now. My friend and myself used to come to Meath Street to do all sorts of wonderful shopping. Going out in Dublin was pleasant as well and safe. When I went back to the country, I used to say that you really didn't meet many people like a real Dub. You know, they were so funny and natural.
The Liberties is situated in the oldest and historically one of the poorest parts of Dublin city. For hundreds of years, generations of families have lived closely in what is a busy and tight-knit community. Amidst all the bustle of city life, Margaret has come across St. Catherine's Grotto in the heart of the Liberties. There, she meets Brother Bernard.
You look after the grotto?
I look after it for the last... I've been here now since 1981.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sure it's a little haven in the middle of the city,
oh,
really.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Bernard has worked in the community for over 30 years. To give an impression of the area, Bernard brings Margaret to the St. Nicholas of Myra Centre, better known as Carman Hall.
Well, Carman Hall was an old school in Francis Street, and it was converted into a community centre.
Carman Hall is for many the heart of the Liberties. Run by John Gallagher and Liz O'Connor, it is a community hub, parish hall and drop-in centre. It provides practical help for those who need it, including homework clubs, hot dinners and helpful advice.
This is Liz Margaret.
Hello, Liz. Pleased to meet you.
Welcome to the Liberties.
Thank you very much.
And John Gallagher, whom I was telling you about.
Oh, yes.
This is Margaret,
Hello,
John.
John. Pleased to meet you.
How are you?
This was built in the 30s when there was a huge number of tenements around. Yeah. And then gradually the tenements got rid of and this school was obsolete as a school. Yeah. That's how we got it.
And that's how you got it.
There's something going on from 9 in the morning to 9 at night here.
Every day?
Every day.
Sunday and all?
Yeah.
A few years ago somebody came and asked me could they hire the room for belly dancing. I thought she said belly dancing. I was amazed when I meet them and they're all belly dancers.
Crazy. Baldy, sit down.
Grab a chair, hon.
Margaret, don't mind this. This is just he calls me crazy and I call him Baldy. This is just normal.
You wouldn't know
well,
why.
I can see why you call him Baldy, but I can't see why he calls you crazy.
We won't
be long, Lena.
We won't go into that, Margaret.
Derek, where do you fit into all of this?
I'm a family support worker. 90% of my work is dealing with families of kids on drugs. I run a mothers group, and they're all mothers who have kids on drugs. I also run a fathers group, fathers of addict support group. That's been going for about 14 years. Having that experience of being a parent of an addict, you know, sort of gave me a good insight to the way I was suffering, and I was surrounded by counsellors and psychologists and, you know, all the support I helped. What was happening for the people out there? What kind of participation?
So you discovered that there was a need that other people hadn't actually identified, even the counsellors. To see so many people with their feet so firmly on the ground doing good day in, day out for people is very touching, really. I want to hear more about Derek, really, and what he does, because I know from my own house, I'm the one who does the talking, and I gather most men are like that they wouldn't generally feel comfortable expressing themselves in the big group.
After spending the first day getting to know the Liberties, later that evening, Margaret drops into a local shop to get some basics.
What's the story with this charity? Is it a local charity?
Yeah, I'll just get the boss in and explain to you.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, how are you? Just wondering about the Avion's pink tie.
Oh, Avion's pink tie?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a local charity that helps the parents of the oncology ward in Conlon Children's Hospital.
OK.
Beautiful little charity, really nice little charity.
I'd love to know a little bit more about the charity, if there's somebody I could talk to.
Yes, Avian is a kid who died a few years ago. Her dad started it, Jimmy. I can get you Jimmy's number.
Oh, I'd love that.
He'd be delighted to hear from you.
OK, I'd love that, please.
OK.
Yeah, OK.
It's the following morning and Margaret has arranged to meet Jimmy Norman, the man behind the charity Aveen's Pink Tie. Set up after the loss of Jimmy's daughter, Aveen, in 2010, it helps the families of children living with cancer in whatever way they can.
The Pink Tie is an organisation that's it's completely based on practicality. During my stay in the hospital and my wife's Anne-Marie's stay in the hospital with Aveen through her sickness, we found that there was a great need for practical support for the families. If you have children at home and you have a child in the hospital with cancer, you could be in the hospital for months. So we started out this idea of helping practically. But it can range from anything from petrol, from getting cars fixed, from maybe covering household bills.
I take it that it's a bottomless pit, really, your needs. But how do you fundraise?
We had the biggest fundraiser ever over Christmas. The Irish Army, the young officer cadets, ran from the Curragh to Galway carrying 60-pound backpacks.
Right.
And they raised to the tune of €10,000.
Wow. And how long did that last?
Oh, that's gone.
But, you know, what exactly would that do?
If you can take a mortgage payment out of a person's life, that gives them a month to breathe.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the best way to get any idea of what the charity does and how we interact with people, I'm going to bring you out to meet Laura and her husband David and their little boy Ethan, and you'll get to see the complexities of dealing with a child that has childhood cancer. There's a very long walk along the corridor of St. John's, and most of the families always use the expression to walk the walk. And when you've walked the walk of St. John's, you're never the same again.
Yeah.
And I want Aveen's Pink Tie to hold the hand of every parent that walks the walk.
Laura and David have 2 children, Amelia, who is 15 months, and Ethan, who is 3. Ethan has 2 years remaining of his leukemia treatment.
Treatment at that stage is very aggressive because the leukemia is so aggressive. Like the Hickman line that he has in, when he got it in, they explained to me about bathing him, and they were saying, you know, he can't get this wet. You have to put it like a sandwich bag over it. You have to tie it up, tape it to his neck. And I always remember saying to her, so how would I rinse off his hair? And she just took my hand and she said, he won't have any hair. And that hit me because that was only 24 hours into it.
The information that is just getting thrown at you and you're trying to take it all in.
Even if you weren't right in the middle of the trauma of it all,
exactly.
Taking it in and remembering it would be difficult, I'm sure.
Yeah. Straight away you're thrown into having to have that knowledge, that medical knowledge, whether you like it or not. You need it, you need to have it, you need to take it in.
And even as you say, Laura, him not being able to tell you, I remember wishing when our children were small, we have 4 and thankfully they're all healthy, I used to wish their lives away saying, you know, oh, if only they could tell me this, so I can know exactly what it must be like trying to figure it out.
It's very hard to wish the 2nd to 3rd year, or like, I wish he was 6. I don't care about last year and I don't care about the next 2 years, and that's very hard to not care because she's a little baby and she's a year old, and I don't care about the next few years. I just want this over, and we were never like that. We lived, David and I, like we were like always very much. We really lived life to the full, like every day mattered, every day, like. Christmas was looming and David had decided he was going to go in and try and do a few days over the Christmas. So we had kind of written Christmas off and said, it's going to be a bad week anyway. The day after Stephen's Day, go in and see if anybody needs parts, because cars still break down over Christmas. And then a couple of days before Christmas, my sister was saying to me, you have to go around, there's a registered letter. After about a week and a half, I went and collected it. It was a cheque for €1,500 from Aveen's Pink Tie. We'd never even asked for or anything. David didn't have to go to work.
I was just going to say, what did that mean to you? Like Aveen's Pink Tie, you didn't know you really until
They met us once. They met us once a few weeks before, and obviously that cheque had even been sent out within just a week or so of the party. Like it wasn't even, you know, they just said it was like being looked after from beyond, you know.
I'm going to do it really quick.
Really quickly on the chair, OK?
That way you can go out and play. Put your hands up.
Good boy. Careful, David. This is for the Hickman line that's in his chest, that has to be dressed, that has to be cleaned and dressed once a week.
This is the
line itself.
OK.
But the line means he doesn't have to have any needles. So he's able to get his chemo and that and get his bloods done every week through this Hickman line.
OK.
OK, mister.
Yeah.
Good. Oh. Can I just go home and cry? So many people don't know what living is about in the real world. Oh, God. There's never enough to... Like the priorities, just the ordinary things that they have to provide, and there's so much to think about when you leave a house like that.
After 3 days undercover in Dublin's Liberties, Secret Millionaire Margaret Farrelly continues her search for people that she might be able to help.
Can I have less tomatoes than the whole basket?
Well, no, hold on now, missus. They're €80 for all of them. Have you nobody at home?
I won't eat them all.
Would you like to bring a fella in? It's some outfit. You don't want any outfits. You know any outfits?
Oh, God, I'm only starting. I don't know where to look for them.
In your case, we'll make an
exception. You'll make an
then.
exception. Good man.
No, it's €5 for €1. You're breaking up a party, you know that.
Thank you.
Margaret is keen to know more about Carmen Hall's role in the community. She volunteers to help make dinners for local men. On average, the centre provides up to 100 affordable meals every day.
There are the two gentlemen sitting out there.
At the near one?
Yeah. Willie, do you want this now?
Oh, it's on the house. It's free.
Your face I might forget, but your kindness never.
Yeah. Yes.
May it last forever.
Yeah.
How long are you working here, James?
About a year and a half.
All right, and do you love it?
Yeah, it's grand. Yeah, days like this now, it's not too good.
Yeah, it's
The hot weather, but I usually do the homework club with the kids. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's easy enough, just when you're short-staffed. I hate paying with the house.
You hate people?
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Do you reckon you'll get them done by Christmas?
I think I'd get it faster.
See, that's the day you have it now, yeah? Bit of wrist action.
15, 20. The dinners are $2.50. So you get your starters, then you get your main course, and then you get your dessert, tea, water, milk, whatever you want.
All for $2.50?
Yeah. We have no...
Nobody needs to go hungry if they...
No, we have a budget, so we don't get any help. So whatever comes in goes back out on food, so there's no profit made.
You told me the other day you get 80 cents per child per day. Give them 2 meals.
Give them 2 meals.
Well, that...
Enda is a marvellous man.
The loaves and fishes.
That you can live on the 80 cents. But we do the loaves and fishes up here.
All right. If you weren't here, if the centre wasn't here to provide them with meals, would they have a balanced diet at home?
No, most of them wouldn't.
They wouldn't, no.
And it's not through any fault of their families. It's because all the cutbacks, a lot of parents are struggling. Everyone is struggling to try and make ends meet and put a meal on the table. But the Celtic Tiger, the only thing the Celtic Tiger done in this area was they built a new road up through Cork Street. Have you seen the new road?
Yes.
That was built so the people that's driving in from the outskirts wouldn't have to look at the slums that's around them here. That's my opinion. They could have put in community centres like this, taking the kids off the streets, but instead they left them. A lot of the kids now has ended up either in prison or on drugs. They're not being given a chance.
Well, without people like you, it would be probably have happened long ago, maybe.
Well, I have to say, John Gallagher, John is gone. And if we had a few like him in the Dáil, this country wouldn't be in the shite it's in.
Intrigued by the men's group she heard about on her first day in the Liberties, Margaret has asked to attend one of the meetings later that evening. Fathers Against Addicts is a support group for men whose children are affected by drugs. It is the only space of its kind in Ireland where men can come and talk to each other about their troubles.
I came into this group about 12 years ago. A couple of my family was on drugs, and I found it very difficult to cope with. Basically, what I wanted to hear was, you come to this group, we make your kids better. But as I said, we were made to look at ourselves and realise we're the problem, you know? We're the problem in coping.
Although I had attended groups with my wife where we would go together, but it didn't work because I was afraid that I'd say something that would upset her and vice versa. And we were leaving the house in chaos, going in chaos, and then adding to it is right, I put petrol on the fire.
Men can feel intimidated by walking into a room full of men.
Of course.
You know, so which was strange because based on what they've dealt with, you know, and the anger that they would have went through and then the frustration of not being able to control their child's addiction, yet they were terrified to talk. We men whose, you know, kids died from drugs, you know, men who were raiding their grandkids. You know, so every scenario you can think that brings drugs, you know, we've had it in that room. And they've sat there, they've spoke about it. They didn't turn to drink to cope. You know, they didn't start going and abusing their wives to cope. They sat in that room and spoke about how they felt.
And then I was told to let go. And I couldn't grasp that for years, you know. I said, how do you let go of your kids, you know? How do you disown them? How do you put them out? And it wasn't that at all, you know. It was just letting go of the emotion that was making me sick, that I was putting back onto them and my wife, you know. We went through an awful lot. But I can only say, without her, I wouldn't be in this group. I wouldn't be surviving today, you know.
I didn't say a whole lot for the first evening, but I couldn't wait for the second week to start. And as I said, I'm here ever since. But as regards the drama and that, the drama has been absolutely fantastic again.
Seeing the need to help the men open up, Derek suggested that they try writing a play.
And there was a lot of reluctance. We said we'd do one show and we'll do one piece based on the true life experiences of the father of an addict. So we picked a date and we got a stage made and we got the backdrop done. And the five of us was behind the stage, shaking, terrified to walk out on stage. And I just said, lads, we can't do anything wrong. We're going telling our story.
Father, protector, husband, provider, carer. I was an angry man. Anger kept me going. I was angry at home. I was angry at my son. I was angry at the drug dealers. I was angry at society.
We'd done it. From then on, everybody just wanted this piece of work. You know, for drug awareness weekends, educational purposes, schools. You know, we've done over 100 performances. We've been everywhere in Ireland. What we did learn was that every mother who watched it said it was like looking at their husband. For every addict, he was really, really shocked to think that his father had feelings.
I made it to my firstborn son on a bathroom floor with a syringe in his arm. The floor covered in blood. Not knowing how to help her. Not knowing how to help him.
These lads have stood in halls with 400 people and told their story.
And do they realise that they're doing good for those people too?
It's their way of giving back now.
Yeah, they do
realise. They are giving back.
Last night I was thinking, you know, as I went to sleep, statistically we have more males take their own lives, and it's probably because they can't talk. Men just don't share their heartaches or whatever, and it was so refreshing to see these men and how they are, having done that. A group like them really should be in every town or locality in the country.
Clearly impressed with the motivation behind Aveen's pink tie and the work Jimmy is doing, Margaret wants to see what the charity does on a practical, day-to-day basis. She travels to meet mum Laura and son Tig, who is recovering from his leukemia treatment.
Would you tell me a little bit, Laura, about Tig?
So this day 2 years ago, we were in... Can't do it. In Our Ladies, in A&E. All we did was bring him down with a temperature. It just wasn't going away. I'd brought him to the GP 4 times. They said it's viral, and I knew there was something wrong. He looked a yellowish colour. Dr. O'Markey came in after all the tests the next day and said, yeah, he has leukemia.
Right.
It's regimen A, but it's 165 weeks of treatment, so just over 3 years. So we're going to be counting down the months now from now. He's doing really well now.
I was just going to say, how's he doing now?
He's doing brilliant.
He's full of life out there anyway.
Within a month of discovering Avian's pink eye and St. John's wort page, it was like half the struggle was over. It was like you were on your own. And then all of a sudden you had this big, huge community. And they're like a family now.
I asked my best friend Connor, would he do this room for us to lift Tig and Laura a little bit and give them a chance to enjoy something, and I think he's had to do. What do you think?
Magic, it's gorgeous.
Trip downstairs. That is class. Oh, classic.
Oh my God.
I love this.
Do you feel like a real soldier now?
Right now, yes.
What are their helicopters? What are they? Chinooks?
Blackhawks.
Blackhawks.
Classic.
Well, today Jimmy is just on fire. And little Tig, and his reaction when he went into the room to see it wasn't big investment, but it was one person's determination and one person's vision and seeing a need and responding to that need. We all see needs, but we don't respond to them. It's helping him deal with his own grieving or his own loss.
Spending time with the families that day has rekindled Margaret's own past and the emotions of losing a sister to cancer.
I was 12 years older than Mary, and at 16, my mother and I were in Lourdes. We came home and she wasn't well. So 2 years and 3 months later, she left this world. And she was extraordinary, I think, for a young girl at her age to tell us at Christmas the year before she died. She told us that she wanted to die if we didn't mind. And that was emotional, that was...
Margaret has heard about a choir that was set up recently. She heads for their meeting point at the Spire on Dublin's O'Connell Street.
Hi, this is where Music Matters meets, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
Well, I'm Margaret and I'd love to come along if that's okay.
Sure.
Hi, Margaret.
Yeah.
My name's Eleanor.
When I went to college, a friend of mine and myself and others in my class were very much involved in music. And a friend of mine texted me to say that there was a new choir starting up and asked me would I be interested in joining.
Ho, ha, he.
Last one.
Ho, ha, he.
Excellent.
Music Matters was set up by Gráinne O'Grady. Trained in music, Gráinne wanted to set up a choir with a difference. What is unique about this choir is that it includes both able-bodied and disabled singers. They come to rehearse from all over Dublin.
And I kind of went around investigating, different choirs in Ireland, and I realised that a lot of them weren't actually even wheelchair accessible even just physically for the rehearsal spaces. So I've worked a lot with people with special needs, and I suppose that's where my passion is. So I decided that, if I wanted to make it happen, I needed to make it happen myself. It's really just taken on a life of its own.
You're a great singer.
Thank you.
All action. You're having a great time.
Yeah.
You love it here.
Yeah.
Among the members, have you noticed a change in them?
Definitely, I have seen a lot of progress. I suppose that's been one of the really rewarding things for me. Obviously, from a musical point of view then as well, I think people have come really far. Some people that would have been initially very shy about singing in a group at all, you know, I literally couldn't even hear their voice, and they're now singing by themselves and singing solo.
All the stars are coming out tonight. They're lighting up the sky tonight for you, for you.
They've just gone from strength to strength, and they've kind of become a little family, a little community in themselves.
Yeah, well, that's obvious.
Yeah, which is really nice.
You'll learn new songs.
I can't sing.
You're joking.
Will I get a voice if I keep coming? You're not looking too convinced.
At the moment, we have no funding. We're self-funding. So, you know, we're just trying to cover our costs of the rent and printing out the music and transport, and we really are relying on fundraising, and the members are paying subs every week, which isn't ideal because, you know, if we want to be inclusive, we want to really be able to let people in with no charge.
They're just lovely to see what Grania has done with the group, and the group have done for one another and themselves. Like, it's just very moving.
Yeah, you and me, we can ride on the star. If you stay with me, girl, we can rule the world. Yeah, you and me, we can ride up the sky. If you stay by my side, we can rule the world.
The following morning, and Margaret has arranged to meet Jimmy from Aveen's Pink Tie on Dublin's South Wall. She wants to know more about the man behind the charity and his own story.
I lived my life, I was just a very ordinary man. I'm still a very ordinary man. I have a beautiful wife, Anne-Marie, and I'll always have 4 children. But unfortunately, I've lost one. I worked in Dublin Airport. I'd actually achieved my own personal dream was to work on aircraft. And I was in work, and I got a phone call from Anne-Marie that she was heading to Temple Street with Aveen. And then this ordinary man, within about 2 hours, was dropped into the most nightmarish situation that you wouldn't want anybody.
Completely unannounced.
Completely out of the blue. Aveen was lined up for MRIs, and I'll always remember going into that room, to this consultant there, and she said Aveen has, she's a very large tumour, and it has spread to both of her lungs. That some people call them, you know, tumours. I didn't even understand the real complexity of it, and she says, but other people call it cancer. And she says, you know, she kind of said to me in a way that we have to be careful about what we say to Aveen, because of she's aware of her own mortality because of her age.
Yes.
I thought I was going to die. I screamed so hard in the room that they had to clear the day ward out. I remember falling on the table. Absolutely.
It's so difficult. I can
roaring
understand,
crying,
I think, a
roaring
little bit, Jimmy, about that point in time for you, because when my sister was diagnosed, I was the one who got the message. I was waiting on my 2 brothers to come to the hospital, and one of my brothers reacted just like that. He almost put his fist through the window in St. Vincent's. He said, "This cannot be happening," and punched the window, because she was 16. The word tumour was what they used as well.
We brought Aveen down to the theatre to remove the tumour. Extremely invasive, and I looked at my child in the bed, and there was she was completely bald. She had a nappy, like a baby's nappy over her, to give her some dignity. And her arms were by her side, she was lying like that. And I thought to myself, that was the closest thing that I ever seen to a crucifixion.
Oh, God.
And I couldn't believe, like, to see this child that was, like, a few months earlier, was Irish dancing and running around on the street and looking forward to life and playing with her friends. And
back at Carman Hall, Derek has invited Margaret to a special rehearsal of the Fathers of Addicts play, a piece of theatre totally devised and self-funded by the members of the group. Later that evening, there'll be a screening of the play for the public that the men recorded.
You can have the script, it doesn't matter, because we're just rehearsing, you know? So you can look at the script. But then if you just go to the bit where Derek does his monologue and see how that looks.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that night. The guards banging down the door. Down, opened the door, and 2 guards standing there. So Mr. Bourne says, "Yeah, that's me. It's very bad news for you. Your son's passed away. I think it was an overdose." So the next thing I knew, I headed up the mountains. You know, seen all the lights in them homes, thought of all them families ravaged by drugs. You know, I just prayed no other man to go through this, Mousy. Because I'll never forget the last thing I said to my son was, "If you come back near this home, I'll take your life." And I just sat there for hours.
I know how you feel, Mousy. I've been in the same sort of situation. What's wrong with you, young fellas? You robbing or what?
It's breaking me fucking heart. Breaking me heart. I felt great that time now. That's why it was you. It was just great. Brought back so much, you know. These lads done so much for me. I could never thank them enough. No.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Not only me, my wife. Like, Jesus, only for them.
Okay, now it's like 8, 10, 4 or 5 weeks. I'm answering to somebody else. You're answering to me. Now, when you get yourself started out, I got it down.
It's fine that during the drama allowed us to get a lot of the frustration and the anger that was there within us out.
Going to the men's group, we were able to leave her, you know, express our anger there, or like emotionally on the plate, and doing it and learning it. It brought up an awful lot.
Men need to stand up and take responsibility as well. You know, that family is there because of them and their wife, you know, and both need to take ownership of the problem, not just the mothers.
Like, I could tell any of the lads something very personal, but I knew that that's it, stay here. It's going to stay within this group. And that's what I really loved.
And on that note, I think...
Kind of says it all, doesn't
Thank
it?
you all.
It's the following morning, and Margaret has received some terrible news from Derek.
Just got word this morning that Anthony's son died during the night. It was a bit of a shock. Strangely, only met him twice, I think. But in those 2 short meetings, felt like we knew one another. He was the last person that I said goodbye to when they put on their performance last night. So just sad this morning to hear that for him. At a time like this, there's loads of support around, but they all go off and do their own thing. But the other lads will be there for him forever, really.
Margaret Farrelly is nearing the end of what has been an emotional time in the Liberties. She must decide soon in what way she can best help. In a few days, she'll be donating tens of thousands of euro and revealing herself as the Secret Millionaire. For the past few months, Jimmy and the other volunteers have been organising a big day out in Dunboyne Castle for all the families of St John's Ward in Crumlin Children's Hospital.
A few weeks ago, I had this idea of giving the little girls princess dresses, and we decided then we give the little boys uniforms. So people were saying, wouldn't it be wonderful if you all got together and we had a photo shoot?
So that's how this happened?
That's just how this happened.
In general, to the Aveen's Pink Tie community, what does Jimmy mean?
He's a breath of fresh air. Jimmy is the first part to call. The calls come to him. He's the experience of dealing with parents. And although Aveen passed away, you know, he has the experience of all the procedures, all the medical terms, knows all the nurses and doctors, and they all love him. He's a special place.
Right, lads, Princess coming through. Watch out. Hero on the way. Stand back. Princess and heroes only.
I really have been knocked out with the effort that people have gone to, the passion that they have for it, you know, the helpers, the support team, and the love that they do it with. And the little children just break your heart. You could feel the love in the room, you know, from the mummies and daddies, the other children. The thought occurred to me, how is he coping really? You know, if this was taken out of his life, because he's so stuck in there and he's so go all the time, and you'd ask yourself, did he have time to do his own grieving? That maybe makes me wonder how long, at that pace, can Jimmy keep going? But
Constantly facing a battle to raise funds, Music Matters has come up with a novel way of trying to raise awareness and money. They invite Margaret to meet them in Dublin's Euston train station.
I have climbed highest mountains. I have run through the fields only to be with you. Only to be with you. I have run, I have crawled, I have scaled these city walls, only to be with you.
just her involvement with them, her passion for it, the love she had for it, that just had a deep, deep effect on me.
Margaret's time in the Liberties is almost at an end. It is now time for Margaret to decide how she can help the groups and people she has met along the way.
I'd like to be able to help more, for sure, but I think there's an awful lot of need that society in general isn't really doing a whole lot about, and it's good to be able to help a little. I didn't think about it really in any great depth until about the last 2-3 days. I'd met all the people and learned a lot about most of them. And then I felt that the fairest way was to apportion the gifts to the number of people that would be helped in each case.
One of the groups that Margaret came across was the all-inclusive choir, Music Matters, and she was clearly impressed with Gráinne's drive.
I really enjoyed getting to know you and the group.
Thank you very much. And as I say, you're very welcome to come back anytime. You know where we are now every Wednesday night.
That's it. It's been an experience for me, for sure.
Good.
And I just wanted to come and say goodbye and to confess a little to you, because the programme that you thought you were making isn't what we made. We actually made an episode of Secret Millionaire.
Oh. Okay, I've watched that loads of times on the telly. Okay.
And because I found what you do so humbling and so wonderful, that's a gift for you.
Oh my
for
gosh.
Music Matters.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can I open it?
Of course you can.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. This will keep us going for ages. Thank you. I had no idea. There have been times, since I set up the choir where you kind of think, oh, I just pack it all in. This isn't working. We're not getting any funding. We're not getting anywhere, that kind of way.
You do great work. Oh my
God. I just can't wait to tell the lads. Oh, thank you. Oh
From the outset, the plain-talking honesty of Derek and the support group for Fathers of Addicts has touched Margaret. She pays one final visit to Derek and Tony. She also wants them to pass on her sympathy to Anthony for his loss.
Thanks very much for meeting me again. I was really looking forward to meeting Tony the other day when we got the sad news of Anthony's son.
There's loads of people around them, and as I said to Tony on the way in, we'll be there long after they're gone, and we'll all support each other. And that's the thing about having the support group, and it'll get them through.
Well, I head away home tomorrow, and I want to thank you both for sharing your stories with me. But I have a little bit of a confession to make, because we're making a TV programme, okay, but it's actually The Secret Millionaire. And because I've been so moved by your work, I want to make a small little donation, Derek,
Is this it?
to give.
Oh my God.
You're doing great work. Just keep doing it. And Anton needs you in the coming days. And
He'll always have us, and
Thank you. Thanks, Margaret. Thank you very much.
just keep on doing what you're doing.
Oh, we will.
Personally, I'd love to see more groups like that. Those guys are really doing such a good job at finding themselves and hence being able to offer so much to their families.
Thanks, Margaret.
With her own family tale of cancer, Aveen's pink tie and the man behind it, Jimmy, have had a deep effect on Margaret. She arranges to meet Jimmy to say one last goodbye.
Well, really, I just wanted to call Jimmy and say goodbye properly, because there wasn't a chance the other day.
Yes.
And to make a little confession, we weren't making helping hands, as we told you. We were actually, or you were actually taking part in the making of an episode of Secret Millionaire. And I'm absolutely delighted and privileged, Jimmy, to be able to make you a present, to continue the wonderful work and to encourage you to keep going with that work. And your team, Aveen's Pink Tie team.
I'm shaking, so lads, so just have to bear with me for a second.
That's human.
Oh my Jane. Jeez.
I will never forget the meeting with Laura, David and Ethan. I'll remember this. It wouldn't be possible to leave that house without it making a deep impression. I think if I didn't even have the experience in my own life, I would have been moved by it.
Margaret's final visit is back to where her journey started, Carman Hall. She drops into the centre's kitchen to say her farewells to Liz and Esther.
Come here to me. I'm going home.
You're leaving us.
I'm leaving you, but I've had a great week, girls. Thank you very much for having me. And I have a confession to make.
What?
We weren't making helping hands.
Don't tell me you're a fucking secret millionaire, Margaret.
I'm a farmer from Cavan. We have a reasonably successful business at home, and I want to share some of our good success with you, Liz, and your people. So, for you, Liz.
Can't believe it. I'm in shock.
Come here. Well, that'll do a little bit for you. Okay? Oh, good. How could I not be moved by what you do here?
Are you all saying thank you? Tell her now.
I couldn't have imagined the reaction they get, and I certainly didn't expect that they were at the stage where they were praying for help.
Prayers has only been answered, John. Margaret is not who she's pretended to be. She's only given a cheque for the centre.
Well, that's very kind of her. But even without anything, we still loved you coming.
You had said that already. You had said that already, John.
We enjoyed you very much.
Thank you.
So that's nice of you.
Oh, holy heart.
Very nice of you.
Oh, Margaret, I can't thank you enough. I can't put into words how much that's going to make a difference in here. Because we're really on our knees. Calling Enda Kenny for all he was, and no such thing. He's better show us to Enda. That's the main goal, to keep it open. Keep the old people, the kids, everyone coming through the centre.
It's just great to see,
that's
see
huge.
tears of happiness.
That'll make a huge
I'm so
difference.
delighted for you.
Huge. No, John, no.
I felt that I was stepping completely into the unknown. I didn't have any expectations, so it was a real adventure. I find that everybody I've met has touched me in different ways, really, and not as individuals, but as part of what they're involved in. And that's a completely different way of thinking for me, I think.